this shark, swallow you whole. I value my neck a lot more than $3,000, Chief. Find him for 3, but I'll catch him and kill him for 10. $10,000 for me by myself. For that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
You yell shark, we've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Mr. Vaughn, I pulled a tooth the size of a shot glass out of the wrecked hull of a boat out there, and it was the tooth of a great white.
A what?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Love to prove that, wouldn't you? Get your name into the National Geographic.
No, I'm not saying that this is not the shark. It probably is, Martin. It probably is. It's a man-eater. It's extremely rare for these waters. But the fact is that the bite radius on this animal is different than the wounds on the victim.
Get out of that boat!
Well, this is not a boat accident. There wasn't any propeller. There wasn't any coral reef. And it wasn't Jack the Ripper.
It was a shark.
I'll never put on a nice jacket again.
Welcome back to the Jaws Obsession, where we are here to share with you, prove to you, or convince you, or remind you that Jaws is the greatest movie of all time. Thank you very much for returning back to Jaws Obsession, episode 102, the expanded Jaws universe, minute number 12, for a 102nd episode. Thank you very much for returning. I am your host, Ryan Dacco, and author of the Book of Quint, the prequel to Jaws, now a bestseller on Amazon and Audible. It was a bestseller on Amazon when it was published in paperback. Now it's on Audible, and it's a best-selling audiobook for 15 months in a row. It's been in the top 100 in historical thrillers for the last 15 months, and currently ranked at number 75 in the world. Shoehorned right in there, number 74, The Devil and Mrs. Davenport, Paulette Kennedy. And then you have James Patterson is number 76, Alex Cross's Trial. And there's the Book of Quint right there, sandwiched between them at number 75 in the world. And that is just exciting to see because that's what we're doing here. The prequel to Jaws has taken off 15 months now. Wow, the Jaws fans have spoken around the world, wherever you can find audiobooks. It's not just Audible. And see, that's the amazing thing, is that even though it's a bestseller on Audible, the Book of Quint is also available on Spotify, Apple iBooks, Apple Books, Google Play Books, that the Book of Quint is everywhere, but yet still able to be a bestseller. It's not just Audible exclusive. And then, as you know, with the 2027 and beyond, does not have to be the 40th anniversary of the death of the Jaws franchise, 1987's Jaws: The Revenge. That 2027 can be the revitalization of Jaws. And that's what we're looking at here, is that we have the Jaws Retcon 2027 movement. We're going to get to more of that at the end of the show. But also we have some new developments. We have a new documentary that we are involved with, that I am involved with personally. And I'm going to explain that at the end of the show because I just feel very strongly. I feel very strongly we're at a point where Jaws, that this can be, that 2027 it's going to be kind of a turning point, where we can either choose as a Jaws community, fans of the movie Jaws, we can choose to either see that and just as that's just the way it is, that's what's happened, and now it turned 50, and now we can start talking about the sequels, how they dropped away and they actually did a disservice to Jaws. Or can we, 40 years after 1987's Jaws: Revenge, can this be a time for reformation, redemption for the Jaws franchise? Can the powers that be look at what we are doing here and see that there is more happening? We're not letting Jaws be defined by the history. And these things, I just think these things are happening in a very organic way. This is not that these things just that's how the world is shaking out and how everything is lining up. Is that once again Jaws is making itself. The Jaws universe is expanding on its own. It's drawing everybody here, you, the listener. Everybody is around the Jaws obsession. We're going through this movie. We're reading the Book of Quint now. We're actually factoring all that in. So the Book of Quint is giving the Godfather 2 treatment to Jaws, where it's supplying prequel information so we can actually piece together a lot of these points, these moments that we are finding here in these minutes as we go through the movie Jaws. But also, it's pulling in all this energy from around the world. Everybody's galvanizing to 2027. We're going to talk about that at the end of this episode. It's just very exciting to be here and to be back for another shot at this. So remember, jawsob.com. You can email me here at jawsob, the letters OB2025 at gmail.com. Follow us at Instagram at Book of Quint. And the show notes, we are always still going to have those show notes. That's our overflow page over at Telegram channel at JawsOB over at Telegram. And we still have our Discord server up at JawsOB, hashtag 1973. So we have many avenues that we are able to connect to anyone that wants to listen to the Jaws Obsession, watch Jaws Obsession now on YouTube and Spotify, video streaming over there. Just exciting times. We're able to really connect on this film in a way like never before, and that's all exciting. This is all part of the research, as you know, working on a follow-up to the Book of Quint. There are some really amazing stories that can happen with this. I'm very optimistic. I'm very excited. We have our work cut out for us here. We're only on minute number 12 of a 123-minute movie, so we got years to get through this movie, right? But we don't have years when it comes to getting these ideas and drawing on these characters and these inspirations. You have to act on that. If you sit on that long enough, they fade and they go away. And remember, these ideas are out there, and they can come in forms in different ways. And I just think that everything is choosing to shake out now in 2026 for this 2027. Let's go right into minute 12 here of Jaws, and let's fire this right up because we have more to talk about after that. So we don't want to waste too much time here. But let's explain exactly what we're doing here for those that have not. That might be your first episode. We're getting new listeners all the time, so this might be your first episode. So what we're doing here is the expanded Jaws universe is actually taking the Book of Quint, the novel, the Book of Quint that I wrote, which is the prequel, the backstory to Amity Island, to Quint, Mayor Vaughn, that provides the historical context that we're plugging into this Jaws equation in order to understand minute by minute how the story develops, the lines of dialogue. As you're going to see here, very, very important. I'm trying to avoid spoilers as we do this. I know earlier I thought I was going to be doing a lot more spoilers, but I'm still keeping a lot of aspects of the Book of Quint fresh so people can read that. If I do have any spoilers, I will announce maybe that I will talk about some stuff. There might be some later on. I will just say there's going to be spoilers ahead. Maybe I'll put a little icon up that says spoilers on the screen while I'm talking. And then if you see that, just mute that if you haven't read the Book of Quint yet. It's very important that we talk about some of those things because that's what the expanded Jaws universe is. We're not just watching Jaws like we all have watched Jaws before. We're actually have an enhanced version of watching Jaws here. And as you've seen with the last 11 minutes of the film, that there's quite a lot of analytics and there's quite a lot of things that jump out and stand out now when we factor in that that Amity Island is a living, breathing place, and these characters are all moving around, and there's stories happening all over the island at the same time. As we watch Jaws primarily through Martin Brody's eyes, we're kind of introduced to the island fresh. We're introduced to these characters, but these characters have been living on this island for many years, and that's what's so exciting about this. I always get nervous that I don't have record hit, so I just laughed. I look for the lights. I'm always triple checking to make sure my record buttons are all pressed because I want to make sure I get this right. First things first, it's been a while since we had a timeline update. So we have the official Jaws movie timeline calendar here. That Jaws takes place over 12 calendar days. And we've proven this many times over on past episodes and all that, but I just wanted to bring that back. And I wanted to isolate that. We are right here. We are right on Friday, the 27th of June, 1974. And this is a very simplified version of Jaws and the events that happen during the film. But this is where we are, and we're in minute number 12. We're still on this Friday, so we're in the last minutes because after the Amity Ferry scene, after the meeting on the ferry for the Amity Harbor Ferry, that it's going to cut. It's going to go to a new day. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're still right here on the calendar, Friday, June 27th, 1974. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring our Jaws timeline back over here, the expanded universe timeline. As you've seen with the prior minutes, we've been adding to this calendar here. So we started out with 5:08 a.m. That was our prediction of when Chrissy actually is in the water and gets attacked. We're also going to focus on clocks like we did with the Brody clock in the kitchen. That lets us know a hard time, 7:47 a.m., and we're going to try to work that into understanding what's going on here. So remember, we were on the beach, Chrissy Watkins body discovery, 8:35 a.m. We're back in Amity Police Department, 11:10 a.m. when Polly gets back from her break. That she was already there. She was already there. If you think about it, they start at 8. So if Polly started work at 8 o'clock, she was already there for 3 hours when she gets back to the office. So then we have 11:10 a.m. And then we didn't do this in the last few minutes, is that then we cut and we have Brody coming out. I kind of figured that it was going to be about 3 minutes. It was between 11:10 a.m. as he gets up and he leaves the typewriter. Remember, there's the guy talking about the truck parked in front of his place.
We never had it. No. Chief. There's a damn truck with New Hampshire plates on it smack in front of my store.
All right, no, so New Hampshire plates.
There's a damn truck with New Hampshire plates on it smack in front of my store.
All right, New Hampshire plates smack in front of my store. So if you notice this cut right here, and then there's this line of dialogue.
Just have him fill out the form. Just fill it out.
So we have to admit, we have to realize that Martin Brody just didn't leave the office and walk past him. There was a small delay there where he actually heard the man out. He heard his story, he heard his complaint, and then he turned to Hendricks and said, here, take care of this guy, have him fill out a complaint form. And he goes, just have him fill out the form, just fill it out. So depending on how long that guy had Chief Brody keeping him from walking, it was probably a couple minutes. So, or a minute, at least a minute. That's why we're putting him at Chief Brody walking out at 11:13 a.m. on June 27th, 1974, okay, on this Friday. So I factored that it's going to take him about a good 3 minutes at a brisk, steady marching pace to get into Amity Hardware, because I typically don't like to say that Eggertown is exactly what Amity looks like. Remember, Eggertown is the actor that was used to portray Amity, and sometimes actors are given different makeup, and they're given and they change their appearances in order to play the role. When we watch Martin Brody walk down the street, even though it's only less than a minute of film time, in order to get him past Bad Hat Harry and the bicycles and into the hardware store, I'm putting it as a realistic 3 minutes. So he's in the hardware store at 11:16 a.m. Then he comes out of the hardware store at 11:29 a.m. All right. And the reason why I put that there is because if you look on what he's carrying a lot more things other than just the paintbrushes. First of all, he knocks the paintbrush can over, so the paintbrush vase it spills all over the place. So he pretty much helped pick up that. Then he's got the paint, but then he needs to get all these other supplies. He's got a box with the paints. He's got the boards as well as the stakes in order to hammer into the ground for the signs, for the beach closed signs. He's also got to wait for the other guy to get rid of his complaints. And then he's got to get rung up and he's got to check out. So he's got to check all those items out. I'm pretty much factoring in that he was in there for about 13 minutes. It just seems right with all the logistics and all that stuff happening over there. So I have him coming out at 11:29 a.m. What's interesting is you have the band staging there as they started their march there. And what I like is that it seems like that would be they're going over the exact parade route, but they're also going over the 4th of July. They're going over the 4th of July parade schedule. and that's 11:30 a.m. So when Hendricks and the mayor are talking and the marching band comes whipping around the corner, it's almost a dress rehearsal. So 11:30 a.m. is when they actually take off. So I like that. That's a hard number that we can work with. It seems right. Seems that this is right for Friday, June 27th, 11:30 a.m. Remember, this is pre-tourist. A lot of tourists have not flooded there yet. That's the 4th of July weekend they're going to be flooding in. So they're just getting ready for it. So a lot of townies are so a lot of the town folks, the islanders, are up and moving about, and the streets are not exactly filled with people. So it's very realistic that this is also a Friday, not a Saturday, because Polly's at work. So government workers are there, and Mayor Vaughn's secretary is there. So it seems like this is a logical for Friday, June 27th, 11:30 a.m. That's going to lead us all to, it's going to cut from there. Remember, Martin Brody pulls away in the Chevy Blazer, in the Amity police vehicle. It cuts from the parade. So it cuts, and that we have to assume there was some time that went by, because now we have Martin Brody waiting for the ferry, but he had to go drive over there, park the police vehicle, and now he's there waiting for the ferry to come in. And I am going to also you have to think that the Mayor Vaughn contingent, the Mayor Vaughn crew, had to still get Hendricks and load up into this Cadillac and then drive over. So we're looking at a good 15 minutes. 11:30 a.m. Now we're at Friday, June 27th, 1974, 11:45 a.m. It just seems right that that's all working out. There's a whole reason for these timestamps. It's not necessarily just for Jaws. It's also for the project that I'm working on right now. And it's important. I'm just going to say it's going to all make sense when you see what's in, when you see how it factors into the next book. So that's what we're doing here. We're on Friday, June 27th, 1974, 11:45 a.m. That gives us a kind of a frame of reference here of what's really going on. Now, if you see right in the corner here, really interesting. Okay, if we look really closely here, let me move this over so we'll all see. We're going to look at extreme frame left. As they're pulling in, right there, we see the Martin Brody's police vehicle parked onto the left side of the screen here. Okay, so we know that he drove around and he parked. Now, what I find interesting is why we rarely talk about this. This is wonderful characterization. Is that Brody is by himself and he parks the vehicle instead of just driving the vehicle onto the ferry. Okay, it's fascinating to me that this shows that we have an interesting arc with how Roy Scheider and Martin Brody are portrayed. Is that we know that Ellen tells us later on, she tells us that Martin he stays in his car on the ferry to the mainland. And she says there's a clinical name for it. He says drowning. So we know he's afraid of the water. He's afraid of boats. And we know that he also is afraid of drowning. But I think it's very interesting that here he leaves his vehicle off to the side, and then he gets on the ferry by himself as just a pedestrian passenger, like a walker, right? And I just think that's fascinating because I personally would think that he would want to stay in the vehicle, like that he would almost be safer. But maybe he's actually thinking that he doesn't trust the size of the ferry, so he's going to leave the vehicle there. So he'll just get on, and then he'll get on with no car. So maybe it's safer that way, or he feels he's more in control, like he can jump off, or he won't be that there won't be a problem. But what is interesting here is that if you factor in the events of Jaws 2 opens up with Martin Brody in the newly designed, the blue and white police vehicle, and he drives onto the ferry and takes the ferry over to the other side of Amity Harbor. But he's in the truck, so it shows you that he's more comfortable in Jaws 2. He's more comfortable on an island. He's been there for 3 years. It's really interesting that arc starts out that way, where here he was by himself. Now, if we step outside of the Jaws universe and we talk about the making of Jaws, we do know that there's this whole crew, camera, lighting, sound, everything is behind us. We are the camera right now. So Mr. Spielberg is behind us. Everybody is there, and they needed space, obviously, on this small ferry. Get the Cadillac on, and then the crew's there so they can actually do this entire scene. But what's cool is that realistically, you would think that Martin Brody would be on with his vehicle, and then Mayor Vaughn would pull him behind him, because this ferry takes anywhere from 2 to 3 cars at a time, depending on the size of the cars. Probably with these 2 cars, it could fit both of them on there. But for filming purposes, they actually have Martin Brody park off to the side. But what happens now is we go back into the Jaws universe. Because of the logistics of filming the scene, we now have Martin showing us even more how scared he is of boats, because he won't even drive his police vehicle onto a ferry that he needs to have go over and tell the boys to get out of the water, and tell the Boy Scout troop leader to get them out of the water, that that he's closing the beaches. I just think that's really interesting. That's how when I always say that Jaws is making itself. And, and we've talked about the happy accidents and all that, things like that. And we all know about the making of lore that other documentaries have done. But when you look at this from this angle, is that this is how cool the characterization and the choice of Brody to leave his vehicle there actually tells us more about the character. It gives us more of a human quality, a lot more. It makes us more in touch with just what he thinks about water and boats, and it's more natural, and or it's more aggressive than just being scared of the water and sitting in his car. Obviously, he has to sit in his car when they go to the mainland, because he's got to get his car to the mainland. But here, if he has a choice, he's not even taking a boat on. He's not even taking a car onto a ferry. He is going to go by himself. I think that is really cool. It's not talked about enough. That why is Martin Brody standing there when he could have just driven right onto this ferry? It's because that's how terrified he is. He wants to be in control of his destiny, and that is and that's obviously what's going on in Jaws, is that he is not in control here, and even in this scene. So just by having him by himself with his vehicle parked off, and then we have the mayor just pull right on. And with the mayor just comes right in with his vehicle, this gigantic boat of a Cadillac. It's very imposing. So we have Martin Brody now he was trying to almost have some sense of control by leaving his vehicle on shore here, but here comes the imposing character of Mayor Vaughn, and I like this is that like Quint and the Orca, okay. And I try to point this out in the Book of Quint in a few times, is that the Orca represents Quint, the aggressive style, the working class, the grittiness, the hard working. That represents Quint as well. So it's a manifestation of Quint in boat form. Well, this Cadillac is the manifestation of the mayor in car form. Loud, proud, it's aggressive as well. And the way he pulls right in, and he just looming right in behind Martin Brody, is that I always saw Jaws giving just as much attention to Mayor Vaughn as it does Quint, and even though Quint is he's obviously a central focus of the second half of Jaws, is that the Mayor is actually a very imposing figure himself, and Jaws takes its time Steven Spielberg takes his time to actually establish this and give you little devices, the anchor jackets, or the anchor jacket, the other suit coats, but also Vaughn's realty, the posters hanging around town. And now we have this gigantic Cadillac pulling in, 1974, brand new from the year, 1974 Cadillac. It's just such an interesting choice, and I just think that's fascinating. Here is really where the 12th minute starts, okay? And this is where we're going to go. We're going to go 1 minute from here out, okay? Might go a little bit into the 13th minute because of some dialogue that's coming up, but I want to start here. and I want to talk about how they exit the car, okay, and how these men get out of the car. Let's go back in. Who's driving? Okay, so we have Meadows, the reporter, head of the Amity. He's the main guy for the Amity Gazette. So he's the main media guy on the island. He's driving the mayor's car. We have the coroner, all right? We have Dr. Nevin sitting in the middle. Mayor Vaughn is riding in the passenger seat. In the back, you have Mr. Posner, one of the other selectmen, who was also seen walking out. He was also in the office with. He was in the office with Mayor Vaughn at the Vaughn Realty while they were all talking. Remember, that's another thing that's really important. Let me go back to that. I don't want to get sidetracked there, but I want to go back to. Remember, this timeline is very important because you see this 13 minutes as he's walking, 3 minutes to walk. Then you have 11:16 a.m. He gets into the hardware store, and then 11:29 a.m. he's coming out. At the same time he comes out, the mayor comes out at 11:30. Okay, so that is how 13 minutes. So inside Vaughn Realty, the three selectmen, right? Mr. Denherter, Mr. Posner, Mayor Vaughn, the coroner, Dr. Nevin, as well as Harry Meadows, played by Carl Gottlieb. They're all inside having a meeting about this, that it was ruled as a shark attack, and that Brody hung up, and he seems to be doing something brash. And what are we going to do? How are we going to get Brody under control? That 13 minutes is very important because that meeting is going on inside here. And remember, that's when they come out. Brody drives away to go blow the whistle and start closing beaches, and then Mayor Vaughn comes out. So that 13 minutes plays a really big role in what was being talked about in this car on the car ride over, okay? So watch what happens as they get out of the car here. Without any words being spoken.
Martin, you going to shut down the beaches on your own authority?
Okay. Without any words being spoken, Mr. Posner and Deputy Hendricks stay back. They stay back. They're not even in the conversation. And remember, we determined that Brody, Dr. Nevin, and Meadows had a meeting at the collection site for Chrissy Watkins, for the girl on the beach. Clearly some talk about, we're going to keep her as a Jane Doe. That was because of that tells us from the fake dates on the form that Brody was playing ball. He was going, okay, I understand. You want to control the narrative here, and I understand. I got to play politics as well. We're going to push the dates on this. That Jane Doe was found on this date. We're not going to enter her in this little window of time. But once Martin Brody found out about Shark Attack, snaps into action, gets up from the typewriter, hangs up on Dr. Nevin, grabs his jacket, and goes to close beaches, okay? So you have to realize what Dr. Nevin then called Meadows. Meadows then called, he said, let's go meet the mayor. They get out of their office, and they all walk up to the mayor's office at Vaughn's Realty to tell him that Brody is not really, he didn't really take the news about Shark Attack, and it looks like that he's going to do something crazy. They find out from Hendricks that I got to batten down the beaches, and then obviously Mayor Vaughn says, why don't you come with us and we'll figure out what those signs have to say. So as they're driving over, they basically tell Mr. Posner and Hendricks, you stay back. This is going to be between us four, okay? Because these guys already talked to Brody about what they're going to do with the dates about Chrissy Watkins' body, about keeping her a Jane Doe until closer to the 4th of July. So Brody was actually going along with how to handle, in this beach town, how to handle a body washing up on the shore, okay? And he understands about politics, and he understands about all that stuff. But now he's taking it upon himself he's going to go close the beaches. He's going to go start telling people to get out of the water. These three are going to talk to him on the side without talking. So you have to, so when they were on the ride over, they basically said, you guys hang back. We're going to go talk to Chief. But also what they do here is they split Brody up from his subordinate. By doing that, you can then talk to a person of authority, a chief of police, who is an elected position, but he was appointed. Obviously, they hired Martin Brody for this summer, and then he's going to have to run for re-election later on. What we're looking at here, because in the novel Jaws, that was one of the things that's brought up, is that he is up for re-election, Chief Brody, and Meadows is reminding him that, hey, you know, you have to win these people over, and if you go ahead and start doing crazy things, you're not going to get reelected. You're going to be out of the job. So that was kind of established in the novel Jaws, but here, this is his first summer. In novel Jaws, Brody's been there for quite a number of for quite a while. It was not his first summer on Amity for Jaws, but here it's all changed now. He was appointed. He was hired. We already established that in the first few minutes. So now here's Brody, but they split him up from his subordinate so they can start talking to him on a one-on-one basis, but also talking him a little bit more direct without demeaning him in front of his subordinate. That is a tactic that's done in the military, that is done in positions of politics and authority, is that you remove people that superiors will do. Superiors, as in the mayor, is removing the chief from his deputy, so then he can talk to him a little bit more direct, okay? Instead of saying Chief Brody, says Martin, that kind of thing, okay? And talk to him a little bit more real. And that's what's happening here. They already talked to Hendricks. Now, I've noticed that Jeffrey Kramer's performance of Hendricks is not as on, let's just say Hendricks is a more of a small town mind, is that they kind of talk down to him. You know, Chief Brody saying, let Polly do the printing. Hendricks is played kind of aloof, that he's just kind of flows in there and does his job, but he's not very a direct take charge type of guy. So I think that in this car, they kind of worked on Hendricks a little bit, and they were like, listen, this could be anything. It's not necessarily a shark attack. We don't know what it is. And they kind of did the same thing. And it's very interesting what happens here. So with this dialogue, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but with Hendricks staying in the back, he sort of is kind of like waiting for them to break the news like they just broke the news to him. That, hey, this could be a boat accident. That's what we're going to write it off as. No need to close the beaches. No need to place anything in a panic. And with Hendricks is going to be like, okay, if you run it by the chief, then that's what it is. You're not going to get any pushback by Hendricks. That's what I'm trying to say. Is he's a townie. He's a team player, so to speak. And Hendricks is going to do what he's told. And so that's where Mr. Posner is kind of keeping him back there. Also, kind of keep Mr. Posner out of this meeting here. Okay? And that's very interesting as well. Is because you're getting a separation of deniability, separation of powers, so to speak. Because remember, what we see here later on, we're going to see Mr. Posner on the beach with his family, and the mayor kind of suggesting to him, almost ordering him, get in, nobody's going swimming, you got to get in the water. And Mr. Posner knows the history of Amity Island a little bit. He knows kind of some of the secrets out there. So that's why he's a little apprehensive to get back in the water. I just think that's really interesting. And that's also from him standing back here. He's kind of on the outside edge. He's going, oh, there's the mayor going to do his thing again. Okay, so let's take this line for line here.
Well, what other authority do I need?
Well, technically, you need a civic ordinance or a resolution by a board of selectmen.
That's just going by the book.
All right. You're going to close the beaches?
Martin, you going to shut down the beaches on your own authority? Well, what other authority do I need?
All right, going to shut down the beaches on your own authority. What other authority do I need?
Well, technically, you need a civic ordinance or a resolution by a board of selectmen.
That's just going by the book.
All right, that's just going by the book. Okay. Technically, you need a ordinance, a board of selectmen, resolution, board of selectmen. Okay, that's just going by the book. So already the mayor is saying, we really kind of don't go by the book during times like this. maybe really a lot of times we really don't go by the book ever. That's just going by the book. But here we're not going by the book, obviously, because we've already talked about and you've already established that we weren't going to go by the book by reporting her body today. We were actually going to hold that till next week. And the coroner was all for that. That's what the mayor's saying here, is that we aren't doing this by the book.
Martin, you going to shut down the beaches on your own authority? Well, what other authority do I need?
Now, technically, you need a civic ordinance or a resolution by a board of selectmen.
That's just going by the book. We're really a little anxious that you're rushing into something serious here. It's your first summer, you know. What does that mean?
Okay. There might be some spoilers ahead here. All right. I might talk a little freely about the Book of Quint. I'm not sure. Let's just say I'll put the label up spoilers if it comes up. But this is so important, okay? This is so important. If anything that we glean from this scene and from Jaws, from the Jaws obsession, from the Book of Quint, when this is all said and done and the smoke clears, I hope that all of us, we can reach 100% agreement on this. That what I hope we have done here is we've destroyed the bumbling mayor theory, okay? The obtuse and naive mayor of Jaws archetype that has been carried for so many years is blown out of the water. After you've watched the Jaws obsession, after you've taken in all 102 of these episodes and counting, after you read the Book of Quint, one of the things I really, really never liked was when people wrote off Mayor Vaughn as being stupid, naive, kind of bumbling through the movie and getting his comeuppance later on when he's called the mayor of Shark City by Brody and he's forced to sign the contract for Quint. I really want everyone to realize that the mayor is when you watch Jaws in the lens that Brody, Hooper, and Quint are up against a political machine. They are up against someone that is very cunning. He is very smart. He's been doing this for a very long time. So everything he says is calculated, and everything he says has a purpose. I remember I wrote that in the Book of Quint, and it said one of the things that it said was that here's a spoiler here. When Quint first meets Vaughn on page 135 of the Book of Quint, the man let out a polished laugh and took another drag of his cigarette. Every mannerism, movement, and stance of the feet appeared rehearsed and purposeful. I remember I include those things, appeared rehearsed and purposeful. And that was when what Quint's first reaction was meeting Larry Vaughn. This is very important, is that when you watch this scene, that this scene generates a much more calculating chess moves of dialogue, okay? That's what's going on here, is that the mayor has these chess moves. He knows the history of what's happened. He knows that Martin does not know. And he's trying to reveal without reveal. But he's also trying to control the narrative. And by doing that, he's also trying to control Martin Brody. The mayor he's choosing what to reveal and what to hold back in the entire movie of Jaws, up to including the last time we see him in the hospital, signing the contract. Very, very, very intense. He's a very intense man, but he's also has a lot of history, and he's done this before. Handling media, and he has his media representative here, who's obviously on his side. But as you'll see in this scene, is that Meadows starts to reveal a little too much, and the mayor kind of he kind of bulldozes over him, or he kind of moves away from Meadows, because the mayor doesn't want Brody to know everything. What was going on there was when he says, it's your first summer, you know.
By a board of selectmen.
That's just going by the book. We're really a little anxious that you're rushing into something serious here. It's your first summer, you know. What does that mean?
All right, that line right there is just made to reduce him down a notch. Basically, to make him the small man in the argument. That's the way Mayor Vaughn works, is that he's going to say, here's what we do know. We know it's your first summer here. What's that supposed to mean? That means he's taking the upper hand. It's a chess move. He's now being the dominant one here. He's saying, you don't know because you haven't been around here. It's your first summer here. So automatically he's taking the higher ground and Martin is on the defensive. What's that supposed to mean? This is just how Mayor Vaughn works. It's genius. It's dark, but yet it's extremely smart. This is not a stupid mayor by any means. He didn't get to where he got from. He didn't get to this position by mistake. He didn't get there. He's also, it's like he's also keeping the position. As we see in Jaws 2, he stays the mayor. So he knows how to handle a crisis situation, and he knows how to smooth things over. He knows how to handle media and also to contain things, and also maybe to use it to his advantage, as you'll see when the tiger shark is caught. I just think this is really interesting, is that Jaws is actually showing the mayor on his own arc as well, on how he changes his stance from don't say the word shark to let's sell shark jaws right where on the ferry terminal where people are coming on, and let's make it a national spectacle. We had a shark here, and we had a large predator that injured some bathers, and we killed it. And that's what we do here. We take care of our people, because Amity means friendship. It's just, oh, wow, there's so much going on here. So cool to see. And that's what I just hope that all of you can see this as well. And that is one of the things I'm most proud about, the Book of Quint, not just with the history of Quint, but also giving more context to the mayor here and letting us know that Martin is up against a political machine, but he's up against a very, very smart chess player mind in Mayor Vaughn.
I'm only trying to say that Amity is a summer town. We need summer dollars. If the people can't swim here, they'll be glad to swim at the beaches of Cape Cod, the Hamptons, Long Island.
That doesn't mean we have to serve them up a smorgasbord.
He goes right to the dollars. That is his motivation right now on the face value. So he's showing you, he's like a magician. He's showing you his hands, but you're not seeing actually what's going on behind the scenes, okay? So he's saying, Amity's a summer town. We need summer dollars. If people can't swim here, they'll gladly swim Cape Cod, Hamptons, Long Island. So he's appealing on a money aspect for Brody. That's the stance that he's taking. And as viewers, we think that it's a money-greedy mayor, money-greedy mayor, money-greedy mayor. The mayor's rich. The mayor's very wealthy, okay? He's looking out for the town. He's doing that political thing. However, it's not just money. That's what rubbed me the wrong way for so many years with Jaws, is that this mayor, what is it to take $10,000 to hire Quint? Pay him the money. Why hold back from hiring Quint? Why is he talking about money, about we need summer dollars? That is just an excuse so he can obfuscate the truth. That's just an excuse so he can mask what he really doesn't want, is to know that there were shark problems before on Amity Island. Okay? And we had those eradicated by the resident shark hunter that is at the other end of the island. And we don't like him anymore, and we don't want to bring him into the picture. But that's the whole point here, is that the mayor is using this front of summer dollars as a way of not really telling Martin the truth about the history of Amity Island. And that's showing through here, because it would never be this shallow. It really wouldn't be.
Summer dollars. If the people can't swim here, they'll be glad to swim at the beaches of Cape Cod, the Hamptons, Long Island.
That doesn't mean we have to serve them up a smorgasbord.
We never had that kind of trouble in these waters.
All right. We never had that kind of trouble in these waters. Okay? The real ping of this minute here, and we're 12 minutes. We're 40 seconds into the 12th minutes. We only have 20 seconds more to go here. Okay? The real ping here is Meadows. His line is, we never had that kind of trouble in these waters. Okay. As in shark attacks? Because he said that doesn't mean we have to serve them up a smorgasbord, which means serve them up as a platter of food for a hungry shark. Okay, we've never had that kind of trouble in these waters. So they're stating fact. We've never had that kind of trouble in these waters. It's never happened in these waters.
Well, what else else could have done that to that girl? Boat propeller?
Well, I think possibly, yes, a boating
That's
accident.
not what you told me over the phone.
I was wrong. We'll have to amend our reports.
Okay, boat propeller. And Dr. Nevin steps up and says, yeah, I think, yes, a boating accident. That's not what you told me over the phone. We'll have to amend our reports. All right. So here we have, obviously, gaslighting. We know it's a shark attack. You saw the wounds. You said it to him. But now it's, boat propeller. Okay?
And you'll stand by that?
I'll stand by you.
Now, that's interesting because he says, you'll stand by that. The coroner says, I will stand by you. Okay?
Possibly, yes, a boating
That's
accident.
not what you told me over the phone.
I was wrong. We'll have to amend our reports.
And you'll stand by
I'll
that?
stand by you.
All right. So now we see Martin is disappointed. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe we're going to do this. I've already conceded we were going to push the finding of the remains to next week. But now we're actually going to hide the true cause of death. What I find interesting is so that's where the mayor comes in to say, Martin, look at the body language. He's going to put his hand on Martin's back. Now he's going to bring him into the fold. Okay. This is your first summer here. He's already belittled Martin. It's your first summer here. Kind of getting into something here that you don't really know what's going on. But now he's going to say, this is...
A summer girl goes swimming. Swims out a little far. She tires. Fishing boat comes along.
It's happened before.
Now, here we go. The end of the 12th minute. We're now into the 13th minute. Summer girl comes along. She tires, swims out a little far. She tires, a fishing boat comes along. It's happened before. It's happened before. Why are we always glazing? Why do we always go past Meadows here?
I don't think... Martin. A summer girl goes swimming. Swims out a little far. She tires. Fishing boat comes along.
It's happened before.
All right. It's happened before. Did Meadows just blow the entire thing out of the water here? Why is this line always... See, without the Book of Quint... Okay, without the Book of Quint, there are inconsistencies in the back and forth here that are left up to our interpretation. And one that can be one thing is the mayor can be stupid and naive and just he's turning a blind eye to the reality. Okay, that could be one interpretation. All right, without the Book of Quint. Without the Book of Quint, you actually can say, what's happened before? You can say, but swimming boats come along and it's killed a bunch of girls. It's happened before. A girl has been killed by a swimming boat there before. Or have they found a dead body before and they called it a boating accident? So did Meadows just kind of expose this whole thing right here? Remember, who are we in the public sphere? No, we are with the chief of police, the mayor, and Meadows. Read the Book of Quint. You will know the history of Mayor Vaughn here. So the Meadows is kind of using the mayor outside of the mayor. He's almost revealing too much to Martin Brody. Look at Martin Brody's face here. Upon hearing it's happened before. What the heck are you talking about? Look at that face. What do you mean it's happened before? What's happened before? Someone was killed by a shark and you said it was a boating accident? Or someone was washed up, half bitten in half, and you guys said it was a boating accident, and you guys didn't investigate it? That's what's so amazing about this scene is it's happened before. Comes after we've never had that kind of trouble in these waters. So what is Meadows doing here? He just gave us two different answers. And that's because they obviously are hiding a deeper, darker truth about the history of Amity Island, okay? And they're not revealing it to Martin Brody just yet. It's very, very important to look at that on that level.
A summer girl goes swimming. Swims out a little far. She tires. Fishing boat comes along.
It's happened before.
So that is where I'm going to leave it at the 13 minute and we're actually 4 seconds into the 13th minute here. because I've noticed some of the things that are happening as well is that the coroner drops away. He's already done his part, and then he takes him further up, okay? But Meadows is still hanging in there. And now the mayor is going to step away with just Martin Brody. One of the amazing things that Spielberg does with this take here is his framing in the conversation is that people involved in the conversation will drop off into the background until you're left with just Brody and the mayor. And it's just a fantastic evolution of this dialogue scene. But it's just, it's one of those things that's just truly special to see here. And the mayor is very much working hard. He's working hard because he likes, does he like Brody per se? Did they hire Brody for his technical prowess as a chief of police, a decorated detective from New York City? Did they do that? Or did they really hire Chief Brody because he's kind of naive about the ways of island politics? He's kind of naive about the water. And that he can kind of be gaslit and he can kind of be told that, hey, things aren't really that bad. Yeah, you know, it happened before. We never had that kind of trouble in these waters, but it's happened before. Don't worry about it. Just go back to your office. That's what they want in Chief Brody. They want Chief Brody to stay in the dark. And that's why the mayor's working so hard here, okay? He's pulling out all his political stops here. He's using all his tricks. And it's just a great way of looking at it. Is that this is a very, very much a planned confrontation that they talked about. I'm going to go in and we're going to do this. Harry Meadows, you stay by my side and try to and back me up. Dr. Nevin, you come in if needed. We're going to confront Martin and we're going to shut this thing down. We're going to keep these beaches open because 4th of July is coming up.
Serious
here. Let me go back a little bit here. I'm going to turn the volume down. I want everybody to watch the background. So the way this Chappaquiddick Ferry works, so the Amity Harbor Ferry is backing out. Here's the pilot over to the right. He's backing out, and it swings around, and it gives us a whole look of Amity Island, or Amity Harbor, Amity Town Harbor, okay? Back here, you see this structure back here? That's that's going to be the Harbor Master Silva's office. And this is the boat docks. This is where, see that boat dock right there with the boat up? That is where the tiger shark is going to be strung up later on in the movie, okay? That's where all of that is seen. So if you go to Edgartown, you actually can go down there. All these structures have been since replaced or torn down, but this is what we're looking at is these are the docks, and this is the boat lift where the tiger shark is going to be strung up. And then, okay, then we're going to have over here, we're going to have the Amity Island, the Amity Harbor Lighthouse. Okay, the Amity Harbor Lighthouse. Okay, then we're going to see the second ferry that has another car, and these crisscross. They go back and forth. So one brings the cars over to this side, and the other goes to that side. I contacted Mike Currid of the Edgartown Tour Company, and I asked him about that. I said, is there a certain schedule that they run on? Do they leave every 15 minutes on or on quarter past? He said no schedule, likely every 5 to 7 minute turnaround. He said they arrive and unload two cars, passengers, then the third car, immediately load the next trio of 2 cars, foot passengers, bikes, and finally a third car. They push off with little to no communication with the opposite side and gauge the crossing accordingly. The only delay is to refuel a few times each day. If there isn't a third car in line, they just go without it. So that is kind of how these go. They operate. They go back and forth all the time as a ferry service because in lieu of a bridge going across and getting to the other side of the harbor. Okay, so if we go right into here, remember this is going to be the lighthouse. That's the Amity Island. That's the Amity Harbor Lighthouse right there. This is a map that's on the endnotes in the Book of Quint. This is the inside the liner page. This is the Amity Island map that I have here, And what I wanted to do was I wanted to come here, and this little anchor indicates the ferry. That's the ferry line that they go back and forth from this point to this point. Here's the Amity Harbor Lighthouse, right at the tip of Averill Bay, and that's where we are right now. We're actually when the ferry starts pivoting and turning, we're getting the lay of the land. So we're going to see this lighthouse. We're also going to see the whole Averill Bay in the background here. Okay, so that's just to get you to almost give us a visual of what we're actually looking at here. When we look at this over here, when we look at the lighthouse in the back, okay, that right there is where Averill Bay is, way in the back here, and there's the Amity Lighthouse. And there's the troop leader and all the Boy Scouts. They're all doing their swim and stuff in the back here. Okay?
You'll stand by that?
And then as it pivots around, it's going to now do its approach on the other side. That's the other ferry terminal right here. Okay? So one of the really cool moments about this scene here with this minute is that we're getting the lay of the land of the Amity Harbor as well as the beach town that we are at. More of the setting, and that's what's really efficient about Jaws, is that Jaws gives you information while you're getting visual information. So while we're getting visual information about what the town looks like, the antique houses, the boats all moored up, the docks that we're going to see later on, what Jaws is giving us this information, but we're also visually learning at the same time. Extremely efficient movie, extremely efficient filmmaking. Exciting to see.
She tires. Fishing boat comes along.
It's happened before.
All right. Summer Girl. Remember, they don't ever call Chrissy by her name. They call her Summer Girl. What could have happened to that girl? That's what Martin says. Summer Girl comes along, tires. They dehumanize Chrissy. And they're talking that she's just a Jane Doe. And I think that's really done on purpose here. It's really done on purpose here because they're trying to figure out how to handle this entire situation. At this point, Mayor Vaughn is looking like she is disposable. All right? She is not the priority here. And we don't have to report her yet. The next of kin has not shown up, so we can push this all the way till next week, get through the 4th of July, and then all that busyness can actually mask that somebody passed away. So they're dehumanizing her, and I think that's totally from the mayor's standpoint. All right, Summer Girl uses that term, Summer Girl. And Summer Girl is a term when I talked to my insiders back in Edgartown. Okay, Summer Girl was used as a term of girls that would come over from other parts from the mainland just for the summer to either get a job or to just hang out, stay at a friend's house. It's very interesting, and I want to talk about that term Summer Girl in my next book because I think there's something that happens here on Amity. Amity Island it's really interesting because there's a lot of animosity that the islanders have towards off-islanders. And they almost see them as necessary in order to sustain life, to bring dollars in, but they kind of despise them because they get to go back to a better life, to the mainland. There's more opportunity over in the mainland. But in Amity, it's harder to live there, but you have less. So you have to make do with less. So they have more they look down. They have more of like a disdain for the tourists that come over. A lot of these islanders do. I want to go into that with my next novel because it's very interesting because Chrissy Watkins she came into this environment and she is just basically disposed of in a way. It's very, very interesting, and it's sad. It's a sad, tragic state that of how she's handled, and I want to tell also part of that story about going forward is how is she handled going forward? How is what happens in the reporting in the weeks that follow? Because as we know, Mrs. Kintner later on says, I just found out that there was a girl killed here last week. So Mrs. Kintner is saying that to Martin midweek the following week. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, she doesn't even find out. She says last week because someone was killed on Friday and they just kept it hush hush. They kept it off the record and they didn't tell anybody about it because they labeled her as a summer girl, someone that is disposable, and that they come in droves every summer. They just come over, and the boys in Amity. Remember, it was described to me that there would be relationships would go into chaos because every summer that the girls of Amity, the ladies on the town, the Islander ladies, the girls would have a disdain for the summer girls that would come over and try to steal their boyfriends. So it was very interesting. There's a lot of going on there in the town of Amity while Jaws is taking place. And I think if we know a lot of that, if we know a lot of those little stories or about the attitudes and about the perceptions of Chrissy Watkins and Islanders, and we actually hear a little bit about it in Jaws when Cassidy, he's like, he didn't even know her name, Worthington. He didn't really know her name. It was in one of those outtakes. He just met her. It's easy to excuse if someone like Chrissy Watkins is lost because she's just a summer girl. And that's what the mayor's trying to say here. It's a very dark way of looking at things, and I want to dive into that a little more. So that's going to be in the next minute. In the 13th minute, we're going to wrap up this conversation, and we're going to draw some more conclusions here. But right now, that immortal line by Carl Gottlieb as Harry Meadows, okay, the reporter, who says it's happened before. What do you think that means? Now remember, it's easy to excuse, they've had drownings before, they've had this before, it's happened before. Someone that swims out and gets killed by a boat, chopped up by a boat propeller has happened before? I don't think so, but Harry's saying it's happened before, right? And Mayor Vaughn is going, this happens, right? Has it? Or is this just a tall tale? That's why the Book of Quint is so important. That's why I'm so fascinated with adding this in and that Jaws with the Book of Quint takes such a more serious tone, and the political intrigue, it just stands out from this scene. It's very exciting to see. So we're going to get to that on the next minute. So that's going to wrap up for minute number 12 here. But with that, I want to also go into some announcements with a Jaws Retcon 2027 update here, okay? The Jaws Retcon 2027 update. The other day that I made a post about this new documentary that was just announced, that they launched JawsExplored.com, JawsExplored.com. That I was contacted by Creator VC, which is a successful documentary filmmaking company that's with people that all over the world that contribute to these documentaries. And they asked me that I wrote a post here, and it says, "It's an honor to report I have joined the advisory circle for the upcoming documentary Jaws Explored. When Jaws Obsession started, I set out to define what makes Jaws the greatest movie of all time, aiming to explore the film in ways other than the classic making-of lore. After 101 episodes and writing the Book of Quint, we are on the cutting edge of discovery. Jaws was the result of various energies converging to make something great, and in 2027, those energies will converge once again with a team of experts from around the world. Creator VC has 10 successful documentary projects under their belt. Aliens Expanded, In Search of Darkness series, The Thing Expanded, and they are aiming to go where no other Jaws documentary has traveled. Expanding the Jaws universe by full immersion to define the story within, what makes us all come back to this film for half a century and still be in awe. I pledged all the research and Jaws Obsession back catalog as show prep so director Rich Johnson and the team can hit the ground running. I will work hard to ensure this team has all the tools it needs to make a mark on history. At the same time, keep Jaws Obsession alive as the avenue for Jaws fans to walk and study the film headed into 2027. As with the Book of Quint, it all starts with the fans. The first step is to take the project to all of us in the Jaws Obsession via a survey. Please take a minute for jawsexplored.com and complete the survey to share your input on the project. Then follow and share at Jaws Explored for the connection over at Instagram. The link to the survey is in their bio there. 2027. Okay, so I want to talk about that. I want to talk a little bit about Creator VC here. These people are fascinating. I don't know if you ever been over to creatorvc.com, but they have all of these documentaries that they've been really involved with. Screen Rant, they've been mentioned in Empire, Screen Rant, Collider, Fangoria. If you look at this, some of their documentary lists they have here, The Thing Expanded. I first heard of them way back in like 2019, I think it was. In Search of Darkness, A Journey into the Iconic 80s Horror. That's available on Tubi. If anyone is in the United States, the streaming app Tubi, that they have this documentary called In Search of Darkness. And these documentaries are not short. They're very long and they're very, very involved. And it was talking about the iconic 80s horror movies, and they interview everybody. Heather Langenkamp, Nightmare on Elm Street, Kane Hodder, Jason Voorhees. John, they go right into these very, very well in-depth, well-made documentaries for some of these but one of the things that I was in Search of Darkness was that caught me on was the soundtrack. Is that they had this really killer synthwave 80s horror wave dark synth type soundtrack, and I used to listen to that on the Bandcamp app. And then I found the documentary, so I knew about them. And so when they reached out to me, we had a Zoom call, and they just got done with the Aliens Expanded. That's an award-winning documentary. They involved with James Cameron, and they went right into the movie Aliens. They just got done with A Thing Expanded, where they had access to John Carpenter. They had Kurt Russell involved there. So these documentaries, they do not take lightly. And Creator VC then came to me, and they basically said that they were really interested in doing a Jaws documentary. So they were really interested in doing a Jaws documentary called Jaws Explored. Okay? Something from their website, they said it's Jaws Explored is something new, not a nostalgia trip or making of, but a fresh perspective on how and why Jaws works so well and what makes it a classic. They say, our goal with this documentary is to deepen your experience with Jaws and explore it through a new lens, but to achieve that, we need your help. So, and explore it through a new lens. And if you remember, that's kind of why the Jaws obsession was started, right? Way back in 2021, as I was starting when I was writing the Book of Quint, I also wanted to really break down why is Jaws so special of a movie. Why is it the greatest movie of all time? But why do we keep coming back to this? What is in this movie? What are these things that are happening? And if we isolate on those, can we as a collective stand back and look at this body of work and say, I think we've put our finger on why Jaws is so special. There's many, many reasons. And that's why it won't take just one episode or one podcast to explain it all. And this documentary, I met with Robin, the CEO of VC Creator. I met with Jenna, who's a producer there, and also Rich, who's the director of this Jaws Explored. And we had a great Zoom call, and we talked about all these things that the Jaws obsession. I think this documentary is extremely needed. As you saw, we've had many documentaries that have been released over the years of the making of Jaws. And sometimes it's hard to make a documentary about Jaws without going into and restating over again the shark was broken, the barrels instead of the shark, and all the different things that we know so well by what the happy accidents and all the things, the Verna Fields and all these things that I've talked about in the Jaws obsession. But the expanded Jaws universe is more of a way of getting an immersion into Jaws in a way like never before. So I've somehow have seen in the past that it's hard for us as Jaws fans, if you know what's going on off camera so well. Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss weren't getting along, and that's why this is happening. It kind of takes you out of the movie, and you fail to see the actual relationship relationships that are evolving, the father and son dynamic, as we called it in prior episodes of the Jaws Obsession, that happened between Hooper and Quint. And when the Book of Quint is factored in, and we learn that Hooper lost his father at an early age after his father gave him that boat that he had taken apart by the thresher shark, he sort of sees Quint as a father figure. He's trying to gain his approval. And Quint sort of sees Hooper as the son he never had, and he's trying to teach him in a way that fathers of that era would teach their sons. And it's very interesting. It's fascinating stuff going on, and it lets you appreciate the performances in Jaws if you do a full immersion into the dynamics and the story and the characters. And that's what Jaws Explored is going to do. It is not going to be a small documentary. It's going to be over 4 hours long. And just hearing that and seeing their body of work. If anyone goes and watches In Search of Darkness or watch some of these documentaries, they're available through the crowdsourcing, and then they're available through their website. They do not make these things light, so they don't look to trim and cut in order to get that Disney Plus or a Paramount Plus or Amazon streaming contract. They make it for the top. It was described to me that they make these documentaries for the top 1% of fans of that movie. And I just absolutely saw eye to eye with them. I'm fully on board, and they want me not just to be involved as an advisor, but they also want to include me in the documentary. And I am all for it. Just put me on screen and let's talk about Jaws just like we're doing here. And we're showing that Jaws is the greatest movie of all time because there's more to the story than meets the eye. There's a lot going on here, and they kind of want to tell that as well in a documentary form. It's going to be excellent. I please ask everyone listening to go to jawsexplored.com, take their survey. It's open for 1 more week, and then that survey is going to close, and you can sign up on their mailing list, and then you're all going to be able to be part of it. It's going to go to crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, and their aim is to get this documentary out by 2027, summer of 2027. That's when they want this documentary done and out. So they're motivated. They have a great director there. I think that it's going to be exciting. What I did was I sent them all, I mailed them all 3 of them a Book of Quint because I wanted to make sure that as a team that they can see exactly what happens when they go down this rabbit hole of a full immersion study into Jaws. Great things can happen. And the Book of Quint is a symbol of what can happen when you do that. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm really excited, and I'm excited to see where it goes because I think 2027, summer of 2027, there's a lot of energies are converging. Remember, also in 2027, that will be the Robert Shaw centenary, okay? That is the 100th birthday of Robert Shaw is going to be in August of 2027. West Houghton, UK, in his birth town, they're going to have a celebration there. I have already committed to go back over there. So I will be appearing in West Houghton, United Kingdom, Greater Manchester area in 2027 in the summertime there. And it's just exciting. That's really exciting stuff because the Robert Shaw energy, the 100th birthday of Robert Shaw, celebrating him, his greatest role ever as Quint in Jaws. And now we have this new documentary that is going to break the mold. It will not be like other documentaries. There will never be another documentary like Jaws Explored because this is going to follow the path that the Jaws obsession started. We didn't really set out to talk about Jaws and say what our favorite scenes were or what all the things that have been stated before on a million other podcasts, on a million other shows, on so many other documentaries. We started out in Jaws Obsession to talk about this movie like it's never been talked about before. Some of my proudest episodes, episode 18, Quint's Death Explained. Episode 19, The Fate of the Orca. Episode 50, Marty Milner coming on the show, the construction foreman of Jaws, to tell us details that we've never heard before. Just get right down into this making of. And obviously the writing of the Book of Quint, this prequel that just changes the way so you can that you see Jaws, you watch Jaws again for the first time. And my goal is to help the documentary Jaws Explored, something that when you watch this documentary, you will rewatch Jaws for the first time. That's how cool this is that it all works together. And if you want to watch that documentary, then you can watch Jaws, and maybe you want to go down the rabbit hole and read the Book of Quint, or then maybe you want to go over and watch all of the Jaws Obsession episodes or listen to all the Jaws Obsession episodes. There's so much going on here. It's exciting. 2027 is going to be great. And if I can land this jet, the energies are converging, and that's where the new book, the next book comes along, this follow-up to the Book of Quint that I'm writing now. That's the Jaws Retcon 2027 plan. And remember I said about these energies, they're all happening, and I just was so enamored that Robin over there and Jenna and Rich, that we all had just such a great call because we love Jaws. And we know that you all out there, if you're listening to my voice, you love this film too. It's just really exciting, and I can't wait to see what happens. I'm just really excited to be a part of it, and I just hope everyone goes over Instagram at Jaws Explored, follow them there, and then, of course, take that survey, jawsexplored.com. Before we leave there, Steven Spielberg's new film, Disclosure Day, coming out Friday, June 12th. All right, what do you think? That's right now. I'm recording this. What is this, the 9th? Friday, June 12th. That's only a few days away. What do you think should be his next movie? What do you think Steven Spielberg should make for his next movie? See, now is the time. If there's ever going to be a Jaws prequel, if we're ever going to write to Amblin and bother them and maybe suggest that Spielberg, director Spielberg, for him to return to Amity Island via the Book of Quint, it's a legendary move by a legendary director for a legendary character. It can't miss. And it's everything that it's all these energies are coming in because it just seems right at the time. So 2027, could that be the gateway that opens up a path forward to see the Book of Quint and to see our Captain Quint on the Orca on the big screen? Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing to see that happening? So all these things are possibilities. It's all fluid. It's all moving around. You never know what's going to happen, but we do know that there is an episode 103 after 102, and that is going to be coming up later on. I won't probably be able to get to that. I will see if I can get to that before I leave, but I'm headed out to Martha's Vineyard next week. So my schedule is extremely busy. Next week, we're back on Martha's Vineyard for returntoamity.com. Okay, we have Return to Amity. I mean, this is just awesome. We have Mike Fulcher over there, returntoamity.com. He's just got this thing rocking and rolling again. It's going to be the June 20th. It's just one day. There's a lot of Jaws personalities are going to be there. I will be there. We have Jeff Kramer, Jeff Voorhees. We have Searle brothers, Stephen and Jonathan Searle. Stephen and Jonathan Searle that play the Sharkfin brothers. We talked about them in the last episode. Carla Hogendijk, sharks in the estuary. The Patches, the girl that's calling out about the shark on the beach. Marty Milner, the construction foreman, episode 50. Myself, Dennis Prince, author. Paul Goulart, the clarinet player from The Outtake. Dr. Greg Scommel, famous shark scientist. Keith Cowley, another shark science owner of the Living Shark Museum. Obviously, we've worked closely with Keith with all this. So we have Jaws 2 personalities. We have so many different personalities here. Matt Taylor, author of Memories of from Martha's Vineyard. We have James Belcher Jr. Remember, this is the Jim Belcher. He is the son of Jim Belcher Sr., who was a survivor off the USS Indianapolis. Jim Belcher and I, he's the one that brought me to Indianapolis for the Honor Watch before a couple years ago, and now I will continue to go back. I'm going back there again. Him and I will be back there in July for the 81st anniversary of the sinking of the USS Indianapolis. So he will be there you can meet him and see all the Indianapolis artifacts that he will have. He has a model a scale model of the Indianapolis, full of stories. I urge everybody. He's going to be right next to me in the Wharf Pub. We're just going to have a great time meeting the fans. That will be at the Wharf Pub on that Saturday. Monday, June 22nd, I will be at Edgartown Books with a fresh new round of Book of Quints, hardcover, special edition, and I will be signing those. I'm going to make sure I sign all of those books and leaving them there so that people will be able to order. If you haven't gotten a Book of Quint, EdgartownBooks.com. You can find the link in the description of this broadcast. You give them a call over there. They will set you up with one. They will ship one out to you because that is our only retail outlet at this time because of, and if you've noticed, there's been a lot of stuff going on. We've seen them listed for $100, $200, even $300 on eBay over here. Book of Quints are going for £100 or more over in England, on the UK eBay. So you don't have to do that. Just give Matthew a call, and the price is $50 for the special edition hardcover we spared no expense. This is a very expensive book to make because I wanted to make sure it stands the test of time, just like the Legend of Quint. And we're going to have a whole new round going over there to Edgartown Books. And I'll be over there signing those on Monday, June 22nd. That's going to be, stay tuned to the Instagram for updates on that. On the 25th of June, okay, on the 25th of June, the Montgomery Theater has a showing. They have The Shark is Broken, the play by Ian Shaw and Joseph Nixon. They are performing, their theater group is going to be performing The Shark is Broken. And on the 25th, after the 3 p.m. show, I will be, around at 4:30, I will be holding a talk and a historical presentation. It's called The Talk Back with author Ryan Dacco after the 3 p.m. performance on June 25th. That is at the Montgomery Theater, and that is down in Pennsylvania, sort of near Philadelphia, a little town called Souderton, Souderton, Pennsylvania. I'll put that, the link for this as well inside in the description of the broadcast. So if you just drop down below, there'll be a link for that as well. So that will be June 25th. Indianapolis, of course, I'm going to be there, and I'll have Books of Quint with me as well. I have a limited stock left that will be there for that, but most importantly, we will be there to honor those that were lost at sea and those that survived the USS Indianapolis. It's a great time. I urge anybody that wants to come down to see the monument, come down on July 30th in Indianapolis, Indiana, and for the 81st anniversary of the sinking. I will be there because I'm a member of the USS Indianapolis Legacy Organization now, and I'm excited to get back there and see my friends and see the people I have met through this process of writing the Book of Quint as well as the research. It's just really exciting, and it's just exciting to be back there. So I think I'm going to be doing this as well as a speaking there on the 28th, but I haven't confirmed that yet, and I'll get back to everybody regarding that. So with that, that's what we have lined up for the rest of June here. Very busy next couple of weeks, and so I will. We'll try to get this. I'm going to get this edited up, try to get the episode, minute number 12, Jaws Obsession, episode 102, now in the books. Thank you for your time and listening.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired, I want to go to bed. I had a little think about an hour ago, where it's gotten right to my head. Wherever I may roam, by land or sea or foam.
The movie Jaws is copyrighted property of Universal Studios. Any references and sampling from the movie Jaws in this episode is intended to fall within Section 107 of the Copyright Act. Copyrighted materials are fairly used for the purposes of criticism, comment, reporting, teaching, and research. The materials used here are protected by the fair use guidelines of Section 107 of the Copyright Act. All rights reserved to the copyright owners.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired.
Okay, so remember with that, I think, yes. So anybody else going out, what do you think? Anybody else going to be going out there, headed out there, give me an email, reach out at Instagram at Book of Quint. We are now approaching 30,000 followers at Book of Quint. We have a great little community that we've built there. And as well as over on with the thousands that are following over at YouTube and on Spotify. Let us know what you think in the comment section. If you follow and subscribe to the Jaws Obsession on whatever platform you're listening on, it sure does help us reach new audiences. And this audience is growing all the time. So with Spielberg's latest movie coming out, he's going to be looking for a project to do. Why not the Book of Quint? Wouldn't that be interesting? I would be just as excited as all of you to see the orca on the big screen again. So with that, I want to bid everybody farewell and adieu. Very exciting times ahead. I'm very excited to keep going and see where this takes us.